Hi everyone, Jim here. You've seen me do videos from all over the country, but this one is really, really special. I can finally say I'm in New Orleans to celebrate the launch of Amtrak's new Mardi Gras service between New Orleans and Mobile, Alabama. This moment has been nearly 2 decades in the making, and to say I'm excited, well, that's an understatement. Let me put it this way. The Mardi Gras is going to transform the Gulf Coast. It's going to unlock hundreds of millions of dollars in economic growth for Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana every single year, and all for the price of just one highway interchange. Passengers who ride the Mardi Gras will help to grow the economies of Mississippi by $283 million and Alabama by $390 million every year. Just getting us this far has already helped. Construction and improvements were funded in part by a $178.4 million Christie grant from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Now, our economic models suggest that those construction activities are injecting another $72.3 million worth of indirect and induced growth. This really is a case of everybody wins. That's because growth always ripples out to other parts of the economy. So even if you live in the region and you never take the train, you'll see benefits. Our models project $7.8 million in new homes and real estate, $6.3 million in new retail and wholesale business, $3.9 million in new dollars in the restaurant industry, $3.6 million for healthcare facilities, $2.5 million in energy infrastructure, $2 million in other non-rail infrastructure. You know, I took my very first trip as rail passenger CEO to Mississippi 11 years ago to fight for this route, crisscrossing the counties, talking to local elected and appointed officials, supporting the leadership of the Southern Rail Commission to try to get this done. We even hired dedicated staff in the region to keep the pressure on. So after 2 decades of work by citizen advocates, today is a victory well worth celebrating. But if every new train takes 20 years to launch, we'll never build passenger rail in the way that America needs. We have ideas on how to get there faster, and Congress is listening. The historic Investment in Infrastructure and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, with its $66 billion for passenger rail, is set to expire next year. But leaders on both the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and the Senate Commerce Committee are looking ahead at what comes next, and they're already asking us here at the Rail Passengers Association to supply details and draft legislative text. Our idea is to make the IIJA programs even better. So things like streamlining rules, fully funding the IIJA programs at their levels or better, giving projects credit for previous development work, and even creating a national pool of passenger rail equipment to lease so that new routes and pilot projects don't have to wait a decade to get the rolling stock that they need. Getting the Borealis launched last year between Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Chicago, that took 10 years of advocacy, followed by another 10 years of hard planning and development work across 3 states and the federal government. It's a wild success, with ridership blowing the doors off every early projection, including ours, which some critics said was too optimistic. But 20 years is too long to wait. Just like waiting nearly 20 years to restore service here on the Gulf Coast after Katrina was way, way too long. Americans everywhere want more trains, better trains, and real choices. As of today, folks in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama are getting another great choice. So let's do what we've done here in other places. Places like Ohio, or Kansas, or Oklahoma, or the Pacific Northwest. I want to make another one of these videos, not in 20 years, but in 5. Maybe from Ohio, or Michigan, or Washington State. When I do, I hope I'll see you on that train.